All right, welcome to episode 100 of the Creation to Cashflow podcast. On this podcast, and for the last 99 episodes, we have been helping entrepreneurs and content creators improve their mindset so that you all can make more money, achieve financial freedom, live a happier, healthier life, and just go do great things because we love doing great things. We love helping you guys do great things. So, Michelle, welcome to episode 100.
That is crazy. It's so crazy how long we've been doing this, but it still feels like it hasn't been that long and it's still enjoyable. Like, I'm not a very consistent person. To be showing up like this consistently is like huge. Like, that's how much I really love doing this podcast.
It's crazy to be here right now. And you're right. I mean, consistency is like one of the hardest things in the world. Like everyone can start a new diet, everyone can do these things, but doing it consistently is not that easy. But you can't do anything consistently if you don't just take the first step. And there was a day just under 2 years ago that, well, I guess it was probably 2.5 years ago that the idea was birthed. And we were like, we have really good conversations, don't you think?
Hmm.
And you were like, yeah, we do. And you're so tall. So we should probably start a podcast. And I was like, yeah, maybe we should. So we did. And here we are now.
Okay, the way you just threw in that you're not a short king so subtly.
You said it, not me.
Oh, okay. Yes, I definitely just spoke those words. No, it's so fun. Like, yeah, it's crazy to think about how you and I had an idea and how many times are we like, we should do that and then never take action. But the fact that we just did and we've held each other accountable for 100 times doing this is just, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to like see as I don't know, something that's being birthed, kind of like what you just said.
It's true because even though this is a huge milestone, this is actually like by now, most podcasts are dead. And I'm gonna hit you with some facts about this actually, and for our listeners, so that they can see how incredible this is, and they can celebrate it with us too. Because truly, if it was just me and Michelle recording these like on a hard drive and not posting them, like I mean that would be cool. But it's our listeners that actually make this exciting. So to all of you that are listening, thank you. It's only special because of you guys. Because we don't ask you for money. All we ask you is for questions that we can answer, podcast ideas, and ratings. And hopefully, y'all are fulfilling your obligations to do that. If you're not, shame on you. This is your chance. Um, but Michelle, I got some interesting facts for you. What percentage of podcasts do you think make it past episode number 3?
Percentage. I'm guessing this is out of 100.
Yes, look at you. I didn't know you were a
I hate
mathematician on
numbers.
the side. Wow.
Let's say 50%.
Not even close.
Oh,
Only
lovely.
10% of podcasts make it past episode number 3.
Wow.
And of those, right, of those 10%, what percentage do you think of those leftover ones make it past episode 20?
3%.
It's 10% again. But a good guess. A good guess. So it's just crazy to think about that. Only 10% of podcasts make it past episode 3. And of those, only 10% make it past episode 20, which means about 1% of podcasts ever, a little less, ever reach 100 episodes. So we right now have put ourselves in a pretty special category. And I think the part that I'm most proud of is we haven't done it for money. We haven't asked for money. I mean, maybe 2 or 3 times we've made a legitimate product recommendation for something we stand by, but we don't even have like coupon codes that are unique to this podcast. Like truly, we just sometimes are like, y'all, this is something we use and we love. This is a really good book. Go check it out.
Yeah, I mean, that's still not asking for money. That's encouraging them to invest in themselves, and we don't get anything in return.
It's pretty wild to be here right now. And interestingly enough, Joe Rogan didn't crack 1,000 downloads per episode until after 100 episodes.
Wow.
And Joe Rogan has like I think Impulsive might be bigger right now, but Joe Rogan is like a top 3 biggest podcast in the world. And he had to do 100 episodes before he started hitting 1,000 downloads per episode, which is crazy because he was already Joe Rogan. He was already the Fear Factor host and like extremely famous and well known, and the UFC commentator, and all of these amazing feats. And even still, for someone like that, 100 episodes is a big milestone.
That is incredible because it's not like you and I are heavily promoting this on our socials all the time. Like we don't promote it that much. And Joe Rogan has a huge following and did when he started his. And so it's just incredible to hear that number, even though I'm not a numbers girly, but like it is nice to hear that because it's encouraging. Also, I want to say something about your statistics. How many people, and you don't know this because nobody would know this. I'm curious though, how many people record a podcast but never even upload it?
Oh, probably.
I know 3 people right now on the top of my head that have done this. They like say they're going to do a podcast, they get everything set up, they record one, and then they never actually upload it to any platform.
Wow. That's really interesting to think about, especially because I definitely know people that have done this too, and they go spend a ton of money on equipment and things. And like, we've been doing this podcast, I've been using the same $45 microphone that I bought 3 years ago, and also the quality on it is great, if I do say so myself. But like, you don't need equipment. You don't need a whole lot. You need a camera, or even your laptop camera would work. Lots of people do their podcast right here on tools like this. So it's pretty crazy to think about how many people never take that first step.
Yeah, I mean, I'm using my phone. I've gone through 4 microphones since we started our podcast, but I use mics every day in content creation, so it's like kind of helpful. But I also know some people who say they want to start a podcast, and then they're like, okay, but what should we talk about? What should I talk about? And I'm like, wait, what? This is backwards. What do you mean? Like, why do you want to start a podcast? Like, I'm curious what people's drive is, because maybe that's why they don't ever continue, because they don't have a good enough why. Like, you and I weren't like, we should start a podcast. What should we talk about? You and I were more so like, we have little miniature podcast sessions every time we meet. So why don't we turn this into something people can enjoy and learn from, because we're learning through these conversations as well. So it was almost like backwards. So I wonder if that's why so many people, they want to make content, or they want to do a podcast, or they want to be an influencer, but then they don't know why they want that. Like, what is the desired outcome that you're expecting to have from this thing? Instead of, you are like, I just was making content and didn't realize you could monetize. And I'm like, oh, maybe I could monetize this stuff I'm already doing. Maybe I could turn our conversations into a podcast that we're already having. So it is interesting to think about the driving force and like what also keeps people going.
What keeps me going is the feedback that we get. I can tell you that right now. It's not the amount of money that I spend every single month on all of the things to be able to make this happen for y'all, because we pay quite a lot out of our pocket, many thousands per year, to put this show on for you guys. So I could promise it is not the huge financial loss that we're taking that makes me want to keep doing it. It's the feedback you guys give us, which is why I'm so adamant in asking for reviews. Share it on your story, tell a friend, ask us questions, like do your part, because we're going to keep doing ours. This is only episode 100. Notice I use the word only. Like, that feels like, to me, I'm like, we're just getting started. I'm still warming up.
Yeah, same.
Which is pretty crazy and special. And I thought it would be really cool if we went back to episode 1 and listened to it and like heard how different it is and like how much we've grown as podcasters. So I went back the other day when I was preparing and I listened to episode 1 and I was like, fuck, it sounds the same. It's still super good. And we actually sound really dialed in. So we're not going to do that right now, because it doesn't make for all that interesting of a segment, actually, because
What the F is that? Is someone playing an instrument? I'm dead. What?
I think someone's.
What is going on?
I think someone's drilling something downstairs.
I was gonna say that can't be a violin warming up because that was awful. It does sound like an instrument though.
It
Like
does, yeah. What perfect timing for them for that to happen right now during our 100. I think we got through 99 episodes without a serious interruption like that. That could really have a negative effect on the podcast, but maybe we'll leave that in for the listeners so that y'all can see that we do have things that go wrong. This isn't a perfect show, I could promise you that. But wow, I
oh,
hope
man.
that's over.
Oh yeah, me too.
Anyway, let's use that as maybe it's time to get to the next portion of the show, which is going to be our actual topic. We're talking today about taking the first step because that is one of the hardest parts. Like, yes, consistency is extremely difficult, but you can't be consistent at something you never started in the first place. Just like this podcast. Like you kind of mentioned, we have a lot of ideas. We have a lot of things we want to do, and we're working on cool things for you guys, I promise, aside from just this. But you can't be consistent at anything if you don't just start, if you don't take that leap of faith. So I guess to begin, Michelle, I would love to know what maybe some of your thoughts were before we started this podcast. Did you have any fears or any, because you had never done a podcast before? Not that I was so experienced. I did 8 episodes of one by myself, completely inconsistently. But what were you thinking before we started and before we took that first step?
Great question. I honestly I wasn't overthinking it. I think that's the biggest thing is I have experience as an actress on stage, as a public speaker, as a content creator. I'm comfortable in front of a camera. So for me, I wasn't afraid of that. I think more so I wanted to make sure that I could edit it in case there were things that needed to be like trimmed out. I guess I was more so like wanting control over that because I didn't know what to expect. But I was honestly excited because the thing is, I wasn't putting so much pressure on it because I knew like our conversations were so good and always so profound that I was just like, even if all we did was record it on our phones as a voice memo and like put it out there somewhere as a sound bite, like that would add value to people. So for me, I don't know, I wasn't really overthinking it. I also can't really remember. That was in 2023 and it's 2025. Actually, was it 2022? It was December 2022. So I don't know. I think that I was excited to talk to my friend Nick, you know? What about you? Because you had experience already. So what were your thoughts?
I had I had plenty of intrusive thoughts come up that were not super helpful, especially because I had done a podcast before by myself, and I only ended up doing 8 episodes. And at some point, there's probably a 3 month gap between posting them. So I knew I was like, all right, podcasts are not a great way to make money, and I don't even want to do it for the money. They're really hard to be consistent at. It's really hard to make content that grows your podcast. It's really hard to decide what to talk about. It's a ton of editing work. And that's what my thoughts sounded like. There was a whole lot of like, well, here's everything that could go wrong. But that's exactly what you have to expect before you start something new and something big, and especially something that other people can see. You're going to have a lot of that.
Yeah, you're right. And I think that going back to what I was thinking, I never wanted to do it for the money. And that makes me think about the people that are like, I want to start a podcast. And I'm like, but why? They don't even know what they want to talk about. I think that people think that it makes you a ton of money, which it can if you're like in the top 10, you know, or you're running a ton of ads or whatever, like it can. But I think we've had episodes where I've talked about this. I always set the lowest expectations on things I'm doing that I'm new at, that I'm not good at yet, that I don't know what the outcome is going to be, so I don't get my confidence just snatched out from underneath me, or I don't get unmet expectations, intrusive thoughts in my head, all of these like lies that aren't true that just hold us back from pursuing the next step. So I'm glad you mentioned the money thing. And I think that that's something we need to be transparent about. Like, we spend thousands a year. We've never made a single cent from this podcast. Not one. How many people will do something 100 hours and not make a single cent at it And instead, they're paying thousands of dollars to do it,
And we're probably at like 500 hours when you think about all the planning and all the stuff and uploading and reviewing the social media clips, meeting with our editing team, you actually editing a lot of it yourself, the posting. Like, oh my God, we have put so many hours and dollars into this, not asking for anything except love and honest feedback. And so, yeah, it really is interesting that before you take that first step, like, there's so much that's going to bubble up to the surface, and you might lose all your confidence, and you might have all these things come up. And it could be a sign that, like, maybe some of those things are true. Like, those were all real risks. We might not do it consistently, it might not go well, we might fail. They're real risks. But also, you need to think about all the upsides, and you need to live with a glass half full mentality, which is not easy, especially in something that's public facing. Because if we stop doing this right now, like, we're going to get a lot of questions from people like, why'd you guys stop doing it? And I would feel like garbage. Don't worry, that's not going to happen as long as you guys go rate the show. Otherwise, we're calling it here. Um, but in all seriousness, I am being serious about that actually. But we as humans, we have a tendency to think about everything that's going to go wrong and let those thoughts take over. And truly, like, you gotta just start stuff and not be afraid to fail. Because even if we did fail, who cares? Would we learn something from it? Because I failed on my other podcast, and people would be like, hey, why'd you stop posting that? And I'm like, because I didn't have time, because I couldn't handle it, because it was too much on my plate. Like, it sucks to fail publicly, but it sucks way more to live life wishing you did cooler things.
Yeah, the regret is never something you want to live with.
Yeah, because imagine we didn't get started. Like, would we feel like we have all the time in the world all of a sudden? No, probably not. Other shit would just eat up our time. And that's what happens. So you got to really think about, like, what are you going to make a priority in your life? Get started on things, and sometimes you just got to figure it out. And it's not all going to work out. Like, I'm so happy this podcast is working out, but you and I, Michelle, we're going to do other things in our life together that don't work out, for sure.
Yeah, but that's growth, right? It's all learning. It's all a journey, and like it's meant to be enjoyed too. So I think that it's just beautiful that no matter what you do, if you fail, you're learning from that and you're kind of not failing because you're growing. And I love growing and I love learning and putting myself in situations where I'm completely new at something and I can't be a master in the room and I am not the smartest person in the room. Like I love stuff like that. So I think it's encouraging that this is just one thing that we're doing, but there will be so many others and there are things that people listening to this want to do and they're just not taking that first step.
I think another big reason, too, why people don't take that first step is because they get hung up on the tiniest of details when getting started. So, for example, the name of our podcast. We came up with it in about an hour, could be a little bit less.
Was it?
It might have been less.
I thought it was like 45 seconds.
It might have been. Maybe it was an hour long call and we were figuring things out. But overall, even still, if it was an hour or less, that still is incredibly quick for something really big that we had this big vision for. But we went on ChatGPT and we were like, we need names. We need names for a podcast we want to start that's going to be about mindset and business and social media and essentially the mindset that content creators and entrepreneurs need to have. And we were getting tons of good names. And then we found one we liked and we were like, let's not sit here and stare at it until we hate it. Let's go buy creationtocashflow.com. I'll see if it's available and if there's any podcasts that exist already. There wasn't. And then we were like, all right, that's it. That's our podcast name. Now, how do we figure out what we're going to record on? And we just took steps. We didn't get stuck on those things. And I know so many people that get stuck on those things before trying stuff. And I can't tell you enough that that will be the death of these ideas before they are even born.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I have an idea of like a video, for example, and then I don't even start recording because I don't know how it's going to end up or like how I don't know how to put all the pieces together. I just have the vision. But every time I grab my phone and tripod and I start filming, it all comes together. But it's only when I start filming. That's just how my brain works. That's also why I recommend that if you have weaknesses and you have good chemistry with a friend that has, that's their strength are your weaknesses, like coming together and doing something together, which is what human beings are meant to do. We're supposed to coexist and like be helping each other out and like pulling each other's strengths and weaknesses to the surface and like, cooperating together. That can help you. Like Nick's thing, your bottleneck, not that I want to speak for you, but you didn't like the editing part. I don't like structure. Do not tell me to do an outline. Don't tell me to make a presentation. Do not tell me to put my thoughts on a piece of paper that people will understand linearly. That is, to me, I feel like I'm suffocating just thinking about that. Like, I want to throw my computer out the window thinking about having to do any of those things. And Nick is the best person at all of that. He's so freaking good at all of it. Like, if this is your first episode, then maybe you don't know, but he does our outline. I don't even look at that thing. I don't even want to see it. I'm like, I'll just say things that come to my head when you ask the right question. So it's so interesting how even if you don't know where to get started or take a first step, have a friend, a buddy, somebody that you work well with come alongside you and y'all could step together. It's like an old person in a hospital that's trying to walk again, or like maybe your leg's broken, you're trying to walk again. You're not doing your first walk by yourself. You have the physical therapist or a parent or somebody next to you going with you. And you can do that with your business too.
I love that you brought that up because I forgot, and that's actually not on the outline. But yeah, sometimes when I'm like, all right, so today, guys, we're talking about this, Michelle gets a look on her face where she's like, oh yeah, I thought we were talking about something else today. But even still, that's not a sign of her unpreparedness. It is a sign of the fact that Michelle's zone of genius is things happening on the fly, as well as things like editing. So we have the perfect balance of like, I come up with the outlines, we work together on it. We have a very interesting process for it. Um, it's it's certainly special. Other people have seen us do it in person, and they're like, "That's how y'all come up with your podcast." And I'm like, "Well, it works for us."
Yeah,
Um,
people are like, what just happened? What am I watching right now?
yeah. It's probably not as beautiful and graceful as y'all would imagine, but that's what's perfect about it. And we balance each other out because if I had to edit this, we wouldn't have made it past 8 episodes. I can promise you that because last time when I had to edit my own podcast, I fizzled out at 8. I was like, I can't do this. Actually, I didn't really edit them much because I couldn't bear to. I was like, if I sneeze during it, I'm like, y'all, that's the show. Get with it.
I mean, that's good though. A lot of people leave that in. I've started to leave things in more. Like the incident that happened earlier with the violin drilling, whatever.
It's
At the beginning, there was so much I cut out of our episodes because of something that happened. And I've learned to embrace how I'm wired, the things that happen, the authenticity more on the podcast. So yeah, I'm glad you left your sneezes in.
I love that. Good. That's great validation for the Get Ahead with Nick podcast. Maybe I'll quit this one and get back to it.
Oh, okay. Glad I helped you, encourage you to do all that.
Here's another good anecdotal story of like me being afraid to do something. Before I started like really getting back into fishing, because I love to fish. Hopefully our listeners know that. I know you know that. And when I was a civil engineer, there was no time for like hobbies like that. Like I was very much stuck in the cycle of like working a 9 to 5, getting home late, barely being able to keep my head above water. I was not able to do things like that. So once I quit, I started getting back into the things I love, like fishing, but I didn't have a boat anymore. I used to when I was younger. My dad had a boat, and so I have my boating license, but we didn't have a boat anymore. So I went and had to learn how to fish off the beach. It's called surf fishing. It's much harder because there's waves and fish are just, there's way more fish if you go further out in the ocean. I'll leave it at that. But I didn't know what I was doing. I was scared. I had to buy some equipment. It was very similar.
Hopefully it'll end soon.
I'm assuming there'll be 4. Where I think we're on the 3rd.
What, like 4 holes that they're screwing in?
That's what I'm imagining.
It sounds like a whale or like it on my end it sounds very interesting.
Oh, it's interesting over here. I could tell you that. I think that was all four. So back to that story. I had to go buy a bunch of equipment and spend a bunch of money to go try something. I have no clue what I'm doing. I couldn't have got it more wrong. I had the wrong kind of pole. I had way too much weight on there. And the first three times I went were at least 2 or 3 hours each because I won't give up on things without a single bite from a fish. I was starting to question whether I was in the right ocean. But eventually I caught a fish and I started to build my confidence and I started to learn things and I started talking to other people that would walk around and fish there. And all of a sudden, now I've got fishing friends. I'm getting better at the equipment. I'm getting better at things. But you got to just take that first step and you got to do it while you're scared because you're never going to have all the answers, all the confidence. And I promise you're never going to get anything right the first time.
Also, ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask others. That's another thing is like if you would have just from the very get-go had somebody next to you that is experienced with this surf fishing, then you would have had the learning process sped up. So it's also important, like no matter what it is, I mean, obviously, if you're going to be a doctor, you go to school, you're learning from professors, you're learning at clinicals. If you want to be a content creator, you join a community like Brands Meet Creators. You join people and you learn from people who are ahead of you, who are doing better than you. Not that they're better than you. Nobody's better than anyone else. Let me just put that out there for the billionth time. We're all equals. But it's like, there are people that know things and you don't have to suffer alone. You can ask for help. You can ask what platform we record on. You can ask what equipment we have, you know? There's this beautiful thing that humans are capable of called communication that so many people just don't take advantage of. So also just ask for help, you know? People want to help. It feels like a blessing for us to help others, you know?
Yeah, I have a good friend named John who is he's like my wise fishing grandpa from like a fishing story. I think he's late 70s and he lives right in a beautiful beach house right by where I started learning to fish. And then I started picking up on tips from him and learning and getting out there. And I must have went 50 times that summer. But what I didn't know was all the other doors it would open. And that's why I'm telling you guys that you have to just get started and go fail at stuff because what ended up happening was I really fell in love with fishing again. I wanted to be able to reach the fish that are actually out there in the ocean. So over the winter when I couldn't fish, I went to a boat show and I made a piece of content and I was like, I'm here shopping at a boat show as if I could afford a boat. And I'm pretending, but I'm doing it to manifest right now. And truly it feels good because I know in a couple years I'm going to end up buying a boat. And then maybe not even 4 months later, I ended up joining a boat club and now I can use boats all over the world. And like I get to go fish. I take my friends out on the boat. People get drunk. People sit there and tan. Like it is the most fun thing in the world. And you have to come join us.
I'm like, all I want to do is that right now. It's gloomy and raining. I'm like, I want to get drunk and go tan on a boat.
I know. So you can come join us during your New Jersey tour, which I'm sure is coming this year. But
When it gets warm there, I will
oh
come.
yeah, now ain't the time. Now ain't the time. But it's just crazy because if I didn't start that in the first place, if I didn't go buy the wrong fishing pole and go fish in the wrong spot at the wrong beach with the wrong lures and the wrong bait, if I didn't do all of that, I wouldn't have a boat right now. And truly, like boating is one of like the biggest sources of happiness for me these days. So it's crazy because you would never know, right? You would never know all the doors that would open unless you just take that first step and do the thing that you're afraid of doing.
Yeah, like this podcast, Nick and I wouldn't even know each other if we weren't creating content and putting down anyone else's opinions and having self-esteem in who we are and loving who we are and knowing who we are. Like we wouldn't even be sitting here talking right now. I do want to say, because this was just on my mind, have you ever seen this guy on YouTube? His name is Julian himself.
That sounds familiar.
Okay, if anyone is listening to this, I have been binging his videos on YouTube for the past week. It's all I do. It's all I listen to when I'm cleaning. Like, it's just, his videos are so incredible and they tie so well into content creation, even though it's not about content creation. It's about like, a lot of his things, his titles are about confidence, but it's not even just like confidence. The way that he owns who he is and he validates himself, but it's not like in a self-help way. It's very shadow worky and it's so powerful. I recommend everyone just go watch one of his videos. He like has these workshops where he gets people on stage. But I'm saying this to say that even though I said earlier, yes, ask people for help, there's something very special about failing and learning from it, which is why Nick and I are also here, because we didn't have everything handed to us and we had to figure it out. And that's what we're here to share with you guys. We wouldn't have anything to talk about if everything was just so easy and handed to us. Like we would not, it would be so bland, right? But some people, for example, in our calls, they're afraid to get feedback on a video that they have, that we're giving them feedback. But the thing I want people to realize is that your feedback, your failures, quote unquote, are the very thing that others need to learn from. Like in acting class, if I just do horrible for my scene in front of the whole class on stage, I'm like so grateful. I'm like, you know what? I learned, and everyone in this crowd learned way more than just seeing a good performance, because now the teacher's breaking down everything that could have been better, everything that I did wrong, that therefore others in the future can learn from. So it's like, if you're afraid because you don't want to look a certain way, for one, go watch Julian himself on YouTube, but also just know you're doing a service to others by showing up messy and unbeautiful, non-aesthetic, non-put together. You're doing yourself and everyone else around you a favor. I don't know why it's this like thing to have everything put together and like be perfect. It's just not. Like, don't wait for that, because it will never come, for one. But also, you're not helping anyone by like trying to be perfect or trying to do better than everyone else as a beginner. You're a beginner. You're supposed to suck. And if you don't, you're not doing it good enough.
Yeah, you got to have failure tolerance. And if you don't have good failure tolerance, here's a great way to build some. Go try a martial arts class. It's not like you're going to go get hurt, but you will go and you'll get a great workout and you'll be humbled and you'll be welcomed into a group of people that are proud of you. And they're like, hey, today, like, you're going to get your butt kicked a little bit. You're going to sweat a lot. It's going to be hard. It's going to be scary, but you're going to feel so good and confident after. And please, all we're promising is like, just come back again tomorrow. And that is what your experience will be like if you go to almost any martial arts gym, whether you go try like something serious like Muay Thai, or you go just do a kickboxing class where they just put some gloves on you and you're just hitting a bag. But you have to go give yourself new experiences that are going to be humbling so that you can go fail. And what's nice about something like that is that there is a coach and there's people there to support you and kind of pick you up when you fall down so that you can build a little bit of failure tolerance, which is why when I first started posting content on social media, in order to build failure tolerance, y'all have heard me talk about this before, I started going to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu classes 3 times a week and cold plunging 4, maybe 5 days a week, sometimes more, sometimes less. And it just built my failure tolerance and my confidence to a point where that has had a lasting impact. I don't do either of those things nearly as often because now I don't need to. And I got tired of dislocating my limbs. But your experience won't be like that. That's what happens when you get really, really into it for a long time and you need to have an ego death by going against someone that you shouldn't. Like, you're not going to go get hurt, but your ego will. And that is exactly what you need. You need to let your ego die, build some failure tolerance.
Okay, so Julian himself, everything is about ego. Every single thing he talks about is about your ego. And it's so crazy because we all have this thing, this resistance to certain things. And a lot of us just don't ask why. And when we do find out why, we blame it on childhood trauma or something. There's always a reason. There's never no reason. There's always a reason. But it's almost like you have to let your ego out. And so the reason I brought him up as well, Nick, is because at BMC Live, this event Nick and I did last summer, you had somebody scream who was very shy, who didn't want to. He does that in every single one of his little seminar things. Every single one. He makes the most terrified person after he lets it out and like he has them on stage, they have to yell as loud as they can. And sometimes they don't yell. And he's like, why are you afraid? Why do you care what people think? Why are you trying to be cool? Like, what is this for? And it's just so liberating because you see the transformation. I have chills thinking about it. You see the transformation on the people coming on the outside. They look like a different freaking person from when they first stepped on that stage. Entirely different. They're confident now. They're letting those shackles that are holding them back just fall to the wayside or just fall down. They come down, and it's that same ego dying thing that you have to get started and to keep going and to not let failure stop you. Let it exalt you. Let it drive you into more.
Especially because everything is a long game. And the decision and failure you're afraid of making today might set you free from something that is about to challenge you in 8 months, 8 years, 18 years. So you got to be thinking more long term. And today, in this moment, what are the things you can do to build more patience and failure tolerance and confidence so that when the opportunity does present itself, you jump on it? Because me and Michelle, like, we didn't have a huge window to potentially start this podcast. Like, if we were like, oh, let's sit on that. Maybe we'll do it in like 2 or 3 months. By then, something else comes up. We get busy. Life happens because we're all busy. Like, I promise, we all have the same amount of time in a day. We're all busy. We're all struggling to try and get all the things done in the time period that we have. But if you think about how everything is a long game and you build that failure tolerance and you just jump on the opportunities when they're there, right? Because I couldn't go fishing all year long. I picked one summer night that I happened to have time, and something in my brain was like, Nick, you should go try this. And I was like, I'm scared, but I'll do it anyway. And that's the same with our podcast. And that's the same with my first social media post and my first jiu-jitsu class and the first time I took a golf lesson and literally everything. First time you go to a new gym, first time you fly to a new place, you go meet someone that you've known online, you go meet them in person. Like, it's all scary. But if you're not going to do stuff just because you're scared, you better get ready for a very average life.
Yeah, and a debilitating life because we're supposed to grow. We're supposed to get out of our comfort zones. The thing is, it's not even about like breaking free. It's more so about owning who you are and what you're enjoying, what you love to do, what your convictions are, what you want to talk about, what your opinions are. Like, so many people are afraid to have an opinion because they're afraid of having controversy. But like, Nick and I wouldn't have this podcast if we did not have some opinions about things, and if we did not have a drive and a motivation and a desire and a gift of inspiring and encouraging and motivating people to go after what they want. And so it's like you have to like completely remove the mask of what you have put on. We've all put some mask on to please our parents, to fit in, whatever it is. We all put a mask on, and it's like you have to remove it and then own who you are, and then you can really step into more of the things that you want to do. But it takes doing them afraid first. It takes failing. It takes showing up and letting the fear not stop you from things, because that's the biggest thing that will always remove your confidence, is like not delving in, what is that word? Indulging in the fear, allowing it to drive your decision making. That will always lower your confidence and chisel at it. And then of course you're not going to do anything because it's fucking scary.
Yeah, and there's a little test you could do to make sure you're on the right path. If it really sucks, you're on the right path. And if it's really difficult, you're on the right path. And if it's something that in the moment you really want to stop, but you know your future self will thank you for, you're on the right path.
That last one, absolutely freaking yes.
I can't believe this is episode 100. I don't want it to end. This is such a good topic, but they're all such good topics.
I know. I mean, does your little outline that I haven't seen have
Don't you
other
try to
things
minimize my outline. It's not little. It's a big, beautiful outline.
Okay, I apologize, tall king, that your outline came out of my mouth in a way that seemed as if I was belittling it, whatever you said, minimizing it. That's the word.
Thank you. I appreciate that apology. I'll be able to move on now. All right. I think we got one more thing we can hit on. The let them theory. Take it away.
Oh, well, so Mel Robbins, let them. She has this theory. It is huge. I'm sure everyone has heard about it. It's a great book. Oh my gosh, the YouTube videos talking about it. I highly recommend that after Jillian himself. But a good example of this would be, I'm afraid to post this because what will my in-laws think? Will they think that I am being too vulgar if I say a cuss word in my YouTube video? And you have to just be like, well, let them. Like, let them think that. If they think that, let them. Like, what does that have to do with me? That's them. That's their perception. Let them. Let anyone do what they're doing. You're not in control of them. So that's essentially it. That's kind of a bad explanation, but yes.
No, I liked it a lot. It was perfect, actually, because it's about not caring what other people think, so you can go do what you're being called to or what you're probably going to fail at. Because like me going to take a jujitsu class, like I remember a lot of my friends were like, what would you go do that for? Like, you're going to get your ass kicked. Like, why do you want to go wrestle with a bunch of grown men? And I'm like, cool. You can try to minimize it all you want. Enjoy. I'm going. And I'm probably going to like it. And sometimes it helps too. Puts a little chip on your shoulder when people have their opinions. Like, I love the let them theory. I love to let them. And because at first, like, a lot of people were like, why would you want to go do that? Like, that sounds kind of weird. It's like, okay, cool. I'll let them think that. And it puts that chip on my shoulder that makes me be like, I just want to do it even more now. Like, I want to prove them wrong. And it helps, honestly. It helps to have that ammo to be able to be like, if you can't bring yourself to do something for you, then do it to say fuck you to someone else. Because whatever you got to do to start these projects, sometimes that's how you got to do it. Because for me, like, I wanted to say fuck you to the place that I worked. And not that it was anything like that they did, but I didn't like it there. And I wasn't meant to be there. And they were trying to keep me trapped there. So it helped to like have a chip on my shoulder to be like, I got to get good at content. I got to figure out how to be a life coach. Even though I'm 21, I got to go do all these things. Like, it helps to have some serious ammo on top of your own desires to have someone else to, you know.
It's so funny. Whatever works for you. I am not that way at all, actually. I'm completely opposite. I don't ever feel like I need to prove this or I have a chip or like anything like that. I'm actually more so like, for me personally, I've had to switch it because I kind of used to use that as ammo. And I think you got to use whatever works for you. But Mel Robbins also had this thing where she was saying like, if her husband isn't picking up his socks, that's not the example she used, but like, let's just say that he's just consistently not doing this. And this is something that would drive her crazy, that she had to learn to be like, let them. Like, if that's what they're doing, I am not in control of them. I have communicated my feelings to them. I've got to let them, because if I'm going to let that deter our relationship, it's almost like you can't be in control of what anyone thinks or feels or anything like that. And so it's like you have to shift your perspective about them or about what they're doing. Otherwise, you're going to walk around with a chip on your shoulder kind of thing. So it is interesting that you said that, because I've heard the complete opposite, but I've also used that exact thing before in the past where it was unhealthy though. I would be like told this guy's not good for you, and I'd be like, I'm going to prove them wrong and I'm going to stay with them. And it turned out being so toxic. So like, I used to do this all the time because I had to prove it. And this might not be what you mean, but it is funny because I'm like, I've learned to just be like, you know what? No, like I never feel like I have to be like, I'm going to prove this, because that's also giving too much weight to other people's opinions.
I can totally empathize with that now, because yeah, it's not meant for staying in the toxic relationship. But when you're starting that really difficult venture at first, I think it's even more motivating. Alex Hormozy and Andy Frisella are huge on this, especially when you're starting a business, that like it's way easier to use pain as fuel rather than like desire, you know? So I'm throwing it out there, and I think that was a good balanced conversation that we had there, so that everyone could just look at it and be like, pick your poison. We're just trying to get you to start doing more cool shit, to start that business or to go do whatever it is that you want to do. Because no matter what, like if you got to use like negative energy to be like, I got to do it for that reason, or you have that positivity to draw from, whatever it is, you just got to be dead serious about it. And you got to get started and you got to do it scared and you can't be afraid to fail because doors are going to open that you didn't even know existed.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And you're right. Like, I know some people who had a bad breakup and then they would go get like a super huge glow up because they wanted to prove it or like wanted to like show like they're better than that to their ex. And then eventually they got their mind a little bit more healthy and had more desires to do things that are like for them. So yeah, maybe you just got to find what works for you. If the desire isn't driving you, then take on some little toxic mindsets for a little bit and let it drive you because the outcome's going to be the same. You just might need to do some healing after, but like, dude, no judgment, whatever works for you guys. Just do something. Don't just sit there doing nothing. That's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, pain is a great fuel. I would have never started posting on social media if I wasn't in so much pain from my job. Because a lot of people live a life that they're not incredibly proud of because things are okay, right? You might have bigger desires, but they're not strong enough. So pain has always been the biggest motivator for me to get started posting on social media and doing these things. So in summary, y'all just get started with stuff and then figure out what kind of energies you need to employ in your mind to keep going and to stay consistent, but do more cool stuff. Start your own podcast if you want, build your own business if you want to. Do whatever it is that scares you. Go fishing, go take that vacation, go do the thing that is scary because that's what life is all about and you just got to go take that first step. And that's what we're encouraging you to do on this 100th episode of the Creation to Cashflow podcast. And if y'all could be so kind to leave us some ratings and some love and some reviews, help us grow the show, help us reach more people. Do your part. You do your part, and we'll keep doing ours, we promise. So send some love, send some questions at creationtocashflow.com. Go ask for give us a breakdown of where you're leaving this voice memo from, what your question or topic that you want us to talk about is, and we'll make an episode for you as soon as we can. And be sure to check out our social medias. They're all linked below. I think I'm going to stop reading them at the end of every episode. They're all linked below. If you want to check us out, just go read them. Just go click it. It's all right below. The link to submit questions is below. You can submit a review right inside of whatever app you're in. You can find all of our social medias below. Turning over a new leaf for episode 100. And maybe on 199, I'll start reading them again.
Every 99 episodes, you switch it up.
Yeah, we'll keep things fresh here. So anyway, we love you guys. Thanks so much for being part of this 100th episode. And we will see you on episode 101.
101.